Three Rivers State Park Review. During the winter break trip, we stayed a total of 2 nights at Three Rivers State Park, one night on the way down and one on the way back. We actually stay here fairly frequently because it's located in Sneads, Florida. It's where my husband grew up and his parents still live nearby. In fact, my father in law worked at the park for a decent amount of time many years ago. Three Rivers State Park is roughly 20 miles south of the Alabama state line, where Florida meets the southwest corner of Georgia, and the Chattahoochee and Flint Rivers converge to form Lake Seminole. In addition to camping, visitors can launch from a boat ramp to enjoy some of the best freshwater fishing in the state or fish from a 100-foot pier in the camping area. Other outdoor activities include canoeing, kayaking, sailing, swimming, hiking, biking, picnicking, and wildlife viewing. I personally don't recommend the swimming, but you do you. When driving through the park, always keep an eye out for deer because they're everywhere and at all times of day. At night, you need to watch for other wildlife such as possum and raccoons. There's 30 reservable campsites available. One of them is held open for first come, first serve. There's one cabin available. They have 30 and 50 amp hookups, water hookups. They don't have sewer hookups, but they do have a fairly accessible dump station. Campsites are fairly large, and each also has a table, fire ring, and grill. The maximum vehicle length at this park is 50 feet. Personally, we've stayed at sites 10, 15, and 26 so far. There are several trails to walk and easy access to water. I'm very comfortable in a boat on Lake Seminole, but I don't think I'll be taking the paddle boards out anytime soon because it tends to have a robust alligator population. There are spring fed waterways a short distance away that have far fewer water friends, so I'll probably stick to those. As a side note, on October 10th, 2018, Category 5 Hurricane Michael hit the area, causing a 90% vegetation loss to the park despite being 60 miles inland. Hurricane Michael was the first Category 5 storm to make landfall in the contiguous United States since Hurricane Andrew hit Dade County in South Florida in 1992, which this storm hit my husband's parents and Hurricane Andrew hit my dad, so maybe it's a thing with us. We happened to be in Central Florida for fall break when the storm hit. I remember going to Walmart and completely stuffing the car with supplies and driving it to my in laws. The devastation was incredible. I've yet to see a picture that truly captured the destruction. Nearly 8 years later, you can still see the effects the storm had on Three Rivers. I frequently look at the trees and remember what it used to look like. It'll come back, but it'll be a long time. And I actually had a hard time choosing photos for this because it still doesn't look right to me. There were so many trees down at my in law's place that it was years before we could get to the back part of the property. That's how bad the damage was. I know it was probably even worse at the park. Despite all of this, Three Rivers is still beautiful. You can catch the sunrise with the fog on the water, like in the background photo, or sit on the dock in the late afternoon and listen to the alligators and frogs croaking. Site 10, directly at the end of the pier, is probably my favorite, with Site 15 being excellent as well. Site 15 is over by the rental cabin off to one side, so it's a little more private, but it's kind of hard to back into. Site 10 is really in the center of everything, so it's not as private, but it is a pull through space and the view just cannot be beat. I'm not a fan of Site 26, but it's acceptable if you don't have a better choice. It does sit lower than all the other sites around it, so it absolutely floods when it rains. I will grab Site 10 every single time it's available, though. See the graphic and the pictures on screen to get a good feel of the site locations that I managed to get pictures of. Really, all the ones along the water are lovely. Check in is at 3 p.m. Central or 4 p.m. Eastern. Pay attention to your time zones, especially if you're coming in from the east. Your cell phone may not be reliable because you can pick up towers in both time zones here. Park is in Central Time. You can call the park to arrange early or late check in, but I've never done it personally, so I can't say what kind of experience it is. Check in is simple, but it does take a bit of getting used to. This is not a large or high volume park, and it is staffed accordingly. There's almost always somebody manning the gatehouse from 3 to 4 p.m. The rest of the time, it's kind of random. If there's someone at the gatehouse, they'll be very helpful, tell you all the things you need to know, and it's pretty much like every other Florida state park. If the gate is open but nobody's there, you can proceed into the park towards the campground. There are two locations in Google Maps that are super useful here. The first is the main entrance, which comes up when you enter Three Rivers State Park. The other is Three Rivers State Park Campground. The campground is fairly direct, but it's nearly 2 miles from the gate. You just go through the gate and go straight for just under a mile. Then turn left at the sign for the campground. There's a house on the hill if you need a landmark. Continue for just under another mile and you've reached the campground. It's circular and the roads are not one way, so anything goes. The sites will be clearly marked on a post. I think they're all on the right side of the sites, but I'm not positive about that. Find your site and get set up. The camp hosts will come find you shortly and get you checked in. If they don't, they're fairly easy to find. They'll either be at their marked site or you'll see them in their golf cart. They're fairly active. They will happily answer any questions you have and sell you firewood. They'll probably step by and check on you a couple times on the first day just to make sure everything is good. Three Rivers is fairly out of the way, and it's usually not too difficult to snag a spot. However, I still would recommend that you reserve your spot ahead of time. Although it's not as competitive as some other Florida state parks, I have booked a week or so out and only had 3 sites to choose from. And the last time we stayed there, they had a sign on the entrance stating that the campground was at capacity that night and no drive ups would be accepted. Overall, Three Rivers is a great Florida state park and I highly recommend it. If you enjoy the state park vibe over the RV resort vibe, you'll be happy here. And because of its ease of use and simplicity, it's one of my favorite places to camp in our RV.